Good evening, everybody. This is a live emergency update as we have a supercell here just to the north of Henderson in western Tennessee, and it does have pretty strong rotation. It is in an environment with minimal capping inversion and about 200 to 250 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative felicity. So this thing does have a chance of producing a tornado. You can see this nice compact hook. Weak echo region as well with the inflow coming in from the south. And this storm also has pretty strong rotation just to the northeast of Hendersonville. There you can see that rotation passing just to the north of town. Thankfully, in Henderson, you are out of the woods in terms of danger from this storm. But Middle Fork, Tennessee, even Lexington, keep an eye on this. And there is a severe thunderstorm warning right now. No mention of the tornado potential with this storm right now. But that rotation is quite strong, so I would not be surprised if this storm does get a tornado warning soon. Does have a pretty well-defined core as well here. Probably even some small hail just to the east of New Friendship, northwest of Jack Creek. This is also to the north of Highway 100, State Route 100, just to the west of 200 here. Very close to New Friendship. If you're in New Friendship right now, you are in the hook of this supercell storm. Big inflow coming in here. Definitely some pretty strong rotation. And this is outside of our original target area. This is all the way in western Tennessee here so far. The target area, at least so far this evening, hasn't convected just yet. But in western Tennessee, it certainly has. And that's to the east of the Delta, where we expected some of that dry air to be located. But look at this near 200 0 to 1 kilometer shear, even a little bit greater than that in spots. Westerly winds at about 40 knots aloft. And in terms of thermodynamics, decent, not bad. And interestingly, that dry air that some of the short range models were showing into the delta of the Mississippi River doesn't really seem to be materializing. You have these weak southerly winds at about 10 knots, and just above that you've got a decent low level jet west southwesterly at about 35 knots, and that's creating plenty of wind shear. The wind shear is increasing right now over western Arkansas into southeastern Oklahoma, and there still is that threat of renegade storms developing to the southwest of Little Rock. But right now it looks like northern Arkansas has a greater chance of convective initiation. Plenty of surface-based instability up there. This is the northern edge of the moisture. It's not where the front is sagging off to the south just yet. But let's take a look at the actual surface map here really quick to see how the models were handling that dry air in the Mississippi River Delta. This will be an interesting feature to look at. You've got about 62, 64, 66 up here in western Tennessee, 68, 70 over 63. Plenty of moisture up there in western Tennessee, and that's why there is plenty of surface-based instability. So you're really not seeing that mix out into the upper 50s that some of the models were showing, but you can see a little bit of a dry blob of air down here across northern Louisiana, and that's probably the beginning of that dry air starting to lift northward through the delta back into central southern Arkansas. 63, 64 type dew points. The front starting to approach the Kansas City area, a little bit south of Kansas City there as well, but you're starting to get those near 60 dew points moving up into the Ozarks as well. So that moisture starting to arrive in our original target area. But right now we are watching this little supercell storm in western Tennessee. Tiny little thing. Looks like it might have just cycled. That hook might have just filled in a little bit or advanced a little bit off to the east. Could get hail up to 1 inch in diameter from this too in that hail core. Looks like we're trying to shift radars here to get a better look on what's going on with that storm. Probably not going to be able to, are we? Try a different tilt. Having trouble seeing the storm due to some radar issues, but there isn't a mesocyclone evident here on at least the 1.3 degree tilt. Scanning up a little bit higher in the storm, and it looks like this hook advanced a little bit. The RFD punched off to the east, so it might be cycling. It's probably going to develop a new circulation right where that RFD meets up with that hail core there, and it looks like we're starting to get more of a weak echo region into this storm on approach to Middle Fork. So you're about to get some decent hail in the Middle Fork area. Jackson Range Station as well to the west of Middle Fork. Right now that hail core is over State Route 22A. Here you can see the weak echo region. That's the inflow coming in from the south into this storm, and then the hook curling around on the backside like that. The cyclonic mesocyclone here aloft. Maybe it'll peel off a split on this north side, but you can kind of see the RFD punch here coming in into this hook with that anticyclonic curvature to the reflectivity pattern. But the cyclonic portion of the storm right here, pretty sharp gradient as well on that reflectivity pattern. So let's see if we can get some new velocity data that's not as skewed. And it certainly is. Don't like to see that. Be kind of a radar issue there, definitely. Echo tops, pretty good echo tops on this. So this is a healthy storm. We can loop it to get an idea of the trends, and it does look like it might have cycled there just to the east of Henderson and then is ramping back up again on approach to Middle Fork. So it looks like it spun down, cycled, those echo tops dropped, and now they're ramping back up again as it lifts off to the northeast. Other areas included in the severe thunderstorm warning: Lexington to Parsons area, Western Tennessee, Decaturville, you're included in that severe thunderstorm warning as well. And these echo tops are higher now than they have been throughout this storm's life cycle. So it does look like this storm is starting to ramp up in its intensity as it's cycling back up, and that rotation is beginning to increase again. This is a pretty small, compact storm here, but a very textbook supercell storm, a renegade out here all by itself, and that is that weak echo region. It's pulling in inflow from the south right now, and the environment is actually quite favorable as well for this storm. But let's see if we can look at the hodograph from the VAD profile. Really good place to look for hodographs is on autumnsky.us. And we can actually look at the real-time hodograph happening. Working on it. Stand by. Got it. Here it comes. Ooh, and that is a nice hodograph, everybody. So this right here is from autumnsky.us, and this is from the Memphis Radar site. This is the VAD profile here as well. Basically a hodograph that's derived from the vertical profiler on the radar, and you can actually get the wind. So the surface wind here is out of the due south, relatively weak, less than 10 knots. So you have basically a due south wind, probably about 7 or 8 knots, relatively weak now. As it's after sunset, you're starting to decouple that boundary layer, weakening the surface winds, increasing the winds just above the ground at about 1 kilometer up. So you've got a due southwesterly low-level jet here of 35 knots, and that creates a shear vector that is about 30 knots in length. Almost a 30-knot shear vector. That's a pretty lengthy 0 to 1 kilometer shear vector. And look at your storm motion. Due east at about 30 knots. That creates a near 90-degree critical angle with that 0 to 1 kilometer shear vector. So this storm is pulling in pure streamwise vorticity. It's very easy to flip that vorticity into the vertical. You basically have these horizontal tubes of spin that are generated by the 0 to 1 kilometer shear vector that are roughly parallel to the storm motion. So the storm motion's moving along those invisible tubes that are spinning, and it's a lot easier to stretch those into the vertical and then strengthen those low-level mesocyclones when you get a critical angle that's closer to 90 degrees. And then your wind in the middle troposphere, more than adequate to generate that bulk shear greater than about 30 knots. You got greater than 40 knot winds here in the 3-4 kilometer layer. So this photograph here is very favorable for tornado potential. You can see that it just updated, and the low-level jet appears to have backed even more. Interesting. And as well as the mid to upper level winds have even backed a little bit on this latest scan. Still, though, very favorable for tornado potential. Real-time wind shear that we're looking at with this storm. And this storm is on approach to the Middle Fork area. There's the rotation, and you can see our old cycle here still hanging on. Big inflow into this storm. That's the big deal here, is this large area of storm relative inflow. They're in yellow, so this is a very healthy supercell. Big inflow flowing in to the south of this as the storm is starting to approach the Middle Fork area, Middle Fork, Tennessee. That strong low-level mesocyclone is right over the Jackson Range Station right now to the west of Middle Fork. So this area is ramping up big time. We can see the echo tops that are also continuing to grow higher up into the atmosphere. But a very healthy supercell storm that I think does have some tornado potential as this continues to ramp up. Right now, though, a severe thunderstorm warning. Wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour. Hail up to 1 inch in diameter. Very possible with this storm. And this is that mesocyclone back on the backside. You've got mesomist, curtains of rain that are wrapping around that mesocyclone there. You have inflow coming in. This weak echo region to the west of Middle Fork. So a very nice supercell. You can definitely see the winds aloft as you go higher up inside of the storm here, taking that rain and hail in a storm relative sense off to the east-southeast, but really those are from westerly, mid, and upper tropospheric winds, even a little bit of some west-northwesterlies as you go way up higher into the troposphere. Looks like you've got a circulation back here, maybe another circulation starting to form Middle Fork and off to the east as this storm might be starting to cycle. But in general, you've got a very nice gradient, very tight gradient to the reflectivity pattern. This storm right now is south-southwest of Lexington, so not very far to the southwest of Lexington. Should be moving due east, even though this warning does have it lifting a little bit off to the north and east. In general, the storm is moving east-northeast, even though the photographs, the bunker's right mover motion shows a due east storm motion at about 30 knots for this storm. The environment quite favorable for tornadoes in western Tennessee with this storm. Hopefully I'm live. Looks like we are still live on this. Hopefully I'm still not playing that music. Let me make sure that the music has come down a little bit. Looks like it has. We are code red. That's why I've got this red light shining bright in here right now, because tornado potential is real and near term, real time, happening right now with this storm. This circulation is going to cross Highway 22 to the south of Lexington, north of State Route 100 here shortly. And so looking at that VAD profile there in Memphis, if I was a forecaster, I'd be well aware that the tornado potential is quite high for this storm. And it looks like it's cycling with this circulation spinning down off to the west. New circulation ramping up right now over the Middle Fork area. Stegall, Center Hill, Shady Hill, Middleburg areas downstream. Need to keep a very close eye on this storm. Very large area of storm relative inflow feeding this storm right now, right near the Middle Fork. There's the tornado warning, just has been issued. Bam, we have our tornado warning, first one of the day, and it is in western Tennessee. Needed to get this tornado warning issued just because of that VAD profile. It is a radar indicated circulation right now, but that very large storm relative inflow area near Middle Fork. Lots of inflow coming into this storm right now. I'm going to comment on this live stream. So just updated the chat. We have a tornado warning, everybody. Western Tennessee, right over the Middle Fork area. Middle Fork in western Tennessee right now. A very dangerous storm happening here. Off to the west. This is to the southwest of Lexington. I think this circulation is going to pass just to the south of town. Should pass about 5 or 10 miles to the south of Lexington. But it could, if one of these occlude and decide to make a left-hand turn within the mesocyclone, Possibly it could come into Lexington, but Lexington, Tennessee are included in that tornado warning. Darden, Parsons, Decaturville, Tennessee is included. And if this storm continues to intensify, that low-level mesocyclone, it could easily turn even harder to the right and head toward the Decaturville area, crossing Highway 22 just to the south of Lexington. But this is a tornado warning just issued. It is radar indicated, but I'm not seeing any signs yet of a TDS or a tornado vortex signature. Nothing yet. Maybe some little drops out here to the northeast of Middle Fork. Just a little subtle drops in the correlation coefficient, or increases. Correlation drop, which basically means that you have particles, reflectors that are much larger than the raindrops or the droplets within the storm, which would be debris that could be scattered about. Here you can see the weak echo region right near Middle Fork. So if you live in Middle Fork, Tennessee, you're getting inflow ripping into this mesocyclone right now out of the due south. Stegall, you're in the hail core right now, probably getting 1-inch hailstones, maybe larger than quarters even up there, as this thing has definitely become tornadic. And then this is the circulation that's spinning down. It looks like there could be a new circulation developing just to the east of Middle Fork. You've got some meso mist in there, rain wrapping around that circulation to the northwest of Middle Fork. But this is a dangerous storm that we are tracking. Strong rotation closing in on the Stegall area. That rotation is just northeast of Middle Fork now. But if you're in Stegall, Palestine area, Center Hill, just to the south of Lexington. If you live along Highway 22 there, Lexington, down to the south, through Center Point, Lula as well, it could be a very dangerous situation for you as this storm is ramping up. Tornado potential increasing dramatically. Definitely about 200 to 300 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity. And we just looked at that photograph out of Memphis, which is real-time wind shear. Real-time wind shear information coming in, and it shows an environment that's very suitable for tornadoes. And you have this huge storm relative inflow zone feeding into this right now. This is probably a tornado to the northwest of Middle Fork. Looks like there could be a new circulation ramping up. This circulation is going nuts. Here it is moving east-northeast, so I think it's going to cross State Route 412 just to the east of the Palestine area, maybe out near Rock Hill, Warrens Bluff, Chesterfield, Darden areas. Certainly could be impacted by this intensifying storm. Right now I'm waiting for that correlation drop to appear. So I think that this is going to be, probably is going to produce. It's only a matter of time until that potential vorticity tightens up and produces a tornado as a big storm relative inflow area. I'm not seeing anything that shows a tornado in progress yet, but I think it's about to happen. If you were watching this in daytime, you'd probably see a really low wall cloud almost to the ground, strong vertical motion, likely would see some cyclonic spin to that updraft as well as it's lifting up through the storm. So this is a code red tornado warning that is happening right now. Western Tennessee, everybody. Stegall area down near Palestine. Big inflow coming into the storm. This whole yellow area is an area of expanding storm relative inflow into the storm. And usually when you're chasing out there in the field, you'll see this big blob of storm relative inflow increase first. And then with each subsequent scan, sometimes it can happen within one radar scan, you'll suddenly see it tighten up into one little dot there as it's stretched underneath the rapid updraft of So this is a dangerous storm just to the southwest of Lexington here. Northeast between Lexington and Middle Fork. Strong rotation. We do have a tornado warning that has been issued. A very compact supercell storm here just to the southwest of the Lexington area. Spanning out, this is in western Tennessee. Halfway between Nashville and the Memphis area right now. Scanning up a little bit higher up in that storm. We can try to see the rotation as well. A little different perspective. You're scanning up a little bit higher in the storm from this Nashville radar site, but it does show you approximately where that spin. Oh, we're just scanning up too high in this compact storm to see exactly where it's located. Could use the Lawrenceburg site. Let's see if we can. No, not quite. within range yet of that little site. But definitely strong rotation. Stegall area. We're waiting for a correlation drop to show up here on radar. So far, it's just radar indicated right now. We did analyze the environment, and it does show an environment with about 250 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity. This is the Memphis radar site. It's definitely ramping up. It looks like the first cycle closer to Henderson didn't quite materialize into a tornado. It cycled down. We saw the echo tops grow back up again as the storm was recoiling, basically a spring starting to recoil, new circulation starting to form, updraft penetrating higher up into the troposphere, and now we're watching this storm that does have a tornado warning now. Very strong storm relative inflow, strong rotation northeast of Middle Fork. Between Middle Fork and Life right now is where that storm is located, just to the south of Chapel Hill, southwest of Palestine. Probably going to pass very close to the Palestine and Stegall areas here in western Tennessee. It is going to pass just to the south of Lexington, crossing Highway 22 in about 5 or 10 minutes. Very near Stringtown. If you live a little closer to Stringtown, you got to be in your safe place if you're anywhere within this tornado warning. We already looked at the hodograph there in Memphis, and it has a very favorable hodograph shape for tornadoes to happen. Approaching Highway 22, tornado warned storm here. This is a very compact bean-shaped supercell. We already looked at the hodograph, and looks very favorable for tornado potential with that due southerly wind at about 7 knots there in Memphis, increasing a low-level jet, 1 kilometer winds of about 30 to 40 knots just above that. So this is a very dangerous storm. Any storm that's surface-based with that hodograph does have the potential of producing a tornado. I wonder if that is a little bit of a debris drop happening there. I think that that's more of the hail core. You compare it to the reflectivity, and you can see the correlation drop showing you some of those larger hailstones that are now falling on Highway 22 just to the south of Lexington, north of Center Hill as well. That's where some of those larger hailstones are located. 1 inch in diameter and even a little bit larger approaching Highway 22 right now. The circulation is just to the west of that hail core. Right now it's between Stegall and Palestine, Tennessee. It is going to be arriving on Highway 22 to the south of Lexington probably in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So right now you're starting to get that quarter size and larger hail. Probably going to be some golf balls in here as well. Since this storm is rotating, that increases the mesocyclone strength, and it looks like that tornado is very close to the Palestine area. It is lifting to the north of Stegall. It's definitely moving further north in the due east storm motion that was indicated by the VAD out of Memphis. Definitely further north, probably due to a more backed low-level jet. We saw that transpire down in the Memphis VAD as that 1 kilometer wind came back to a little bit closer to more southerly, more of a southwesterly wind there. That's probably a sign that the low-level jet is increasing as that boundary layer decouples, but we do have very strong, tight rotation right near the Palestine area. Looks like some subtle storm relative easterlies there as well, relative to that radar site. So likely tornado touching down near Highway 22A near the Palestine area. Looks like Stegall's getting pounded by some inflow or RFD wrapping around the southern side of that circulation right now. Right on this western side is where that tornadic circulation could be. A little bit of a correlation drop out here as well. This is more the hail core that now has just crossed over Highway 22. This is the hail core here. It's heading toward Rock Hill and Warren's Bluff next. To the east of Lexington, west of Chesterfield. It could come very close to the Chesterfield area. Darden, Chesterfield on Highway 412 to the east of Lexington. You need to keep an eye on it. Possible correlation drop out here closer to the Palestine area. Maybe that could be a tornado trying to form back there. It's relatively close to the circulation. I do think that it is a tornado just to the east of Palestine. That's where that would be happening. Stringtown, you got to be in your safe place. Lexington, you should be in your safe place as well. It's close enough to town to where if this thing were to occlude and turn off to the north, it would head straight for the Lexington area. Looks like Stringtown, Warren's Bluff, Rock Hill, Chesterfield are in the path of this dangerous circulation. Waiting for the drop, the TDS signature. Looks like it's possible there, just to the east of Palestine. Looks like a little bit of a correlation drop. This is that hail core south of Stringtown. They're using some of the dual pole products. You can see it matches up perfectly with that reflectivity signature. You basically have your forward flank gust front down here. You got your hail core, which is getting advected downstream. You have your mesocyclone on the backside. Hint of a weak echo inflow region here, but I think that this is probably more rain-filled RFD. Probably just some little sheets of rain wrapping around this circulation. Could easily be a tornado right now. Just northeast of Palestine. Good thing I didn't go all the way to Arkansas. I probably would have hit this storm on my way out west to Arkansas anyway. I'd probably be dropping south out of Lexington on Highway 22 to intercept this storm. There are no storms developing yet back into northern Arkansas, but this area up here in the Ozarks is an area to watch. Some of the short-range models are showing a greater likelihood of some storms developing. Looks like out northeast of Little Rock, you may have some showers that are starting to form out there, some thunderstorms trying to develop as well. And these are prefrontal too, so these are renegades. And it does look like there's not as much in the way of dry air that is located within the Mississippi River Delta right now. So there is definitely a chance some of these could go tornadic a little bit later on. We'll just have to keep an eye on it, but this is the first tornado warning of the evening. And a bit of a radar hole here in western Tennessee, but you can see enough of the storm to really figure out what's going on. Not a lot of convergence out here too, so it's just some of these bubblers that were able to develop into full-blown supercell storms. This is the circulation. Looks like that radar is a little bit, about 5 minutes old, waiting for that next scan to come in here, but we are tracking this tornado warned storm just to the south of Lexington right now. Large storm relative inflow area. Just making sure I'm still live and that my background music isn't too terribly loud. Thank you everybody for tuning in. So this circulation right now, crossing Highway 22, looks like it's not quite as strong as it was just a little bit ago, but it's far away from the radar. It's a compact storm as well, so it's difficult to see exactly where that tornado is located. But this is in general where the circulation is crossing Highway 22 right now, near or just to the south of the Stringtown area as it's crossing Highway 22, headed toward Warren's Bluff, Rock Hill, Chesterfield, Darden. All of those areas, you want to be in your safe place. Parsons, Tennessee, Bible Hill, Darden, Decaturville. I think the circulation is going to go north of Decaturville, but you still want to be in your safe place just because you're included in that tornado warning. Who am I to tell you not to get in your safe place if you're in a tornado warning anyway? But this is that supercell storm crossing Highway 22 just south of Stringtown. Here's your hail core halfway between Stringtown and Warren's Bluff right now. Trying to see if there is a correlation drop. Really, we're just depicting the hail within this area of lower correlation. You want to try to line it up relative to storm structure, and it's definitely the correlation drop there is within that hail core. There are some better products that you can use too to find those hail cores. You can try to use some high-res differential reflectivity. Looks like you got that hail core just to the east of Stringtown. Maybe there could be a little bit of a drop with this new circulation, but right now it looks like the circulation is broadening a little bit with this storm, which is definitely good news. But the echotops are starting to come back up, if not just hold firm. Those are some pretty decent echotops, basically showing that this is still a mature supercell storm here west of Parsons. It is going to cross Highway 412 halfway between Lexington and Parsons, Tennessee. These are the echotops of the storm, showing you how high that updraft is penetrating in to the middle atmosphere. And that circulation would be right about in this region of the reflectivity. It's a small storm, and it looks like it might have cycled. Possibly the new cycle would happen here, right in the apex there of that RFD, just to the southeast of the Lexington area. It looks like it just crossed Highway 22. This is Highway 412 to the east of Lexington, and it looks like it's headed straight for the Darden area. The strong rotation heading toward the Darden, Parsons area. Possible tornado here. Large area of storm relative inflow. As we've been tracking this, once we started to see that area expand, we knew that this storm had tornado potential. I'd be a little bit even more worried if this thing turned more to the right as well. And I think that could easily happen as the storm continues to mature. The environment upstream, ample surface-based instability as well. And this is just to the south of I-40. Here you can see I-40 to the east of Jackson, well to the east of Jackson. And this could eventually arrive to the I-40 corridor. It could also just kind of parallel the I-40 corridor, staying just south of it. Lobelville, Centerville need to keep an eye on this. Parsons area. Darden as well on Highway 412. Chesterfield, you need to be in your safe place. Looks like that circulation could be ramping up again. Very close to the Stringtown area, on approach to Rock Hill and Warren's Bluff. Very dangerous storm here. Just to the west of Rock Hill and Warren's Bluff, southwest of Oak Grove. This is Highway 412. Circulation just to the south of 412 there. I'm waiting to see if there's going to be a correlation drop with this storm. It's possible that this is that correlation drop that we've been anticipating. That could be a tornado in progress just to the east of Stringtown. Right about there. I don't think that that's pure. Oh, that was an old scan. It's not a tornado. Old scan. Maybe this area here, right just south of 412. Could be a little debris signature, maybe some fall colors getting lofted by that new circulation that's ramping up. Pretty strong storm relative inflow, pseudo RFD wrapping around the south side of this circulation a bit here. Storm relative inflow as well. So pretty mature mesocyclone, very mature mesocyclone with this. Mesomist wrapping around it. Very compact, bean-shaped supercell storm. This is the only tornado warning right now. Western Tennessee, west of Parsons. Nocturnal event happening just west of Darden. Rock Hill, Warren's Bluff happening right now. We can look at the hodograph as well. The live hodograph from the VAD. And this is it, out of Memphis. autumnsky.us. It's a great website to look at real-time hodographs. Interestingly, though, that 1 kilometer wind has backed on this, so definitely has come over more due southerly, still in excess of 30 knots up here. Right mover as a response, a little bit north of due east now. Looks like your upper level winds have also backed a bit. Your 0 to 1 kilometer shear, close to 200, 0 to 3 kilometer, greater than 300 storm relative helicity. 0 to 500 meter shear, even greater with this latest one. But a couple scans ago, the hodograph was even more favorable, and that more favorable environment likely is advecting off to the east along with that storm in western Tennessee. Definitely outside of the target area. I thought it was going to be nearer, just to the west of the Little Rock area. I discounted these renegades from developing out there. You can never discount renegade storms, nocturnal environment, even during the late season. Just to the northeast of Little Rock, well northeast of Little Rock, you got this storm near Newport. Some maturing supercells, Augusta to McRory. Near Tupelo as well, Arkansas. We'll have to keep an eye on these to see if those are going to be able to mature similarly. It looks like the VAD right now is getting a little bit less favorable, but with that very more favorable condition, maybe advecting off to the east a little bit. Probably should look at the VAD profile out of Nashville as well. But first, I don't want to miss a debris signature with this storm, so I got to keep an eye out, keep an eye on radar. It is possible that this area between Stringtown, Highway 412, south of Oak Grove, maybe that could be a little bit of debris, some fall colors that are trying to get lofted. It looks like that's where that circulation would be located. I think, though, that's a slightly older. Oh, that could be where it's located. It's a possible tornado here near Highway 412, just south of the Oak Grove area. That's where that circulation would be. South of Oak Grove, west of Rock Hill, east of Stringtown. So if you're in Stringtown, you're at least safe to come out of your shelter now, as that circulation is just off to your east. But US Highway 412, State Route 114 here, just to the east of Lexington. That's a possible tornado right there. As that occlusion is happening, it looks like there's an occlusion happening as it's starting to get a little bit decoupled from that storm relative inflow. Could be a sign that there's a tornado in progress near here, but I'm not seeing a definitive debris signature right now with that storm. But just to the east of Lexington, crossing State Route 114, US Highway 412. This is south of I-40. The VAD profiles are quite favorable for tornadoes as well. Let's take a look at the profile out of Nashville. Not as favorable. And this is looking at the real-time wind shear out of Nashville. That photograph is not as curved, not as long. Your low-level jet, 1 kilometer wind, 35 knots. You have a good 1 kilometer wind right there. So that low-level jet is still stout, even in Nashville, that far to the east on I-40. So that would tell me that that storm kinematically should be able to maintain its tornado potential for quite some time. You can also look at the RAP analysis. Do have an MD out, mesoscale discussion that has been issued. Watch possible isolated wind damage expected over the next few hours. That was probably issued. That was at 5:05 p.m. Central, 6:05 p.m. So not that long ago. I think just before that tornado warning was issued. So you've got this front through the Kansas City area. There is a game tonight. I know the Chiefs and Broncos are coming in. Maybe some gusty northwesterlies could come in behind that front. Shouldn't be too bad, but temperatures will be cooling off. Temperatures are going to cool into the 40s up there during that game. But here you can see this broad area of surface-based instability across northern Arkansas into western Tennessee. That VAD profile that we just picked in Nashville was on the stable side. Right there, a little bit of stable air building in. But that VAD profile, the photograph that we looked at in Memphis, ample surface-based instability, so not much convective inhibition. Boy, some of those models were showing that dry air through the delta. Those didn't do a very good job. It looks like a lot of that dry air is off to the south, and that west-southwesterly or southwesterly low-level jet was able to pump that moisture from southwest Arkansas across the Missouri Boot Heel northeastern portion of the state into western Tennessee. And it looks like that our storm is right in the eastern portion of that instability axis. And we're pushing 200 to 300 0 to 1 kilometer effective helicities into western Tennessee. And pretty good helicities all the way across northern Arkansas too. So any of these storms that are able to bubble up within that environment, they will have tornado potential as well. So we don't only do radar breakdowns here, but we also do the environmental breakdowns that these storms are embedded within. Still a radar indicated circulation. It looks like it just lifted to the north of Highway 412. Circulation might be getting a little bit more diffuse, so it's probably revamping again, reorganizing, breathing in and out. I bet we're going to see these echotops shoot up again, and we are. See these echotops starting to increase in height. It means that this storm is not done, and it's cycling up again on approach to Parsons, Darden to Parsons area. Be in your safe place because these echotops are increasing as this storm just completed another cycle. Possibly produced a tornado in the vicinity of Highway 22 south of Lexington, and now those echotops are ramping up once again. The storm's gaining strength. It's going to probably do another cycle, could produce another tornado on approach to the Darden area to the west of Parsons, crossing State Highway 412. But right now the storm relative inflow and that rotation has weakened a little bit, but we're far away from the radar. This is in a radar hole here, halfway between Memphis and Nashville. Definite radar hole. Not seeing a debris signature right now. But you definitely could see this nice sickle shape, cyclonically curved reflectivity pattern with this isolated bean-shaped supercell here just to the west of Chesterfield, west of Darden. Lots of inflow coming in. It's likely going to recoil again. You'll see this inflow ramp up. You'll see the storm relative inflow start to increase. And then you'll see one of those circulations tighten up. It looks like this is the old circulation, even though we're scanning pretty high up in this storm. This is probably that old circulation lifting just to the north of Highway 114. And it looks like another storm relative inflow zone ramping up with this new circulation here. So the new circulation is probably going to form somewhere near to the west of Darden. Will likely ramp up, gain strength again on approach to Darden, Parsons, Bible Hill areas. So this storm is definitely not done. It's probably just going to continue to ramp up as it moves off to the east because of the favorable kinematics that are in place. We do have a special weather statement for this cluster of developing supercells northeast of the Augusta area. We'll have to keep an eye on this to see if those can continue to mature. They are going up rotating, and that's because of that 2 to 300, 0 to 1 kilometer shear southeast of Bradford. These are definitely showing that these storms are spinning. These showers are spinning as they're developing. So supercellular showers as they're developing, and then they'll start to produce lightning as well. Oh boy, that ended up being a lot closer to here. I probably should have. Look at Nashville Radar as it's moving up to the east. Looks like it's definitely to the north of 114, but it's gaining strength. You can see this U shape here, weaker reflectivity. That's showing an increase in that storm relative inflow into this storm. It's still far away from the radar. Such a pain in the ass that it's that far away from the radar. And that new circulation ramping up west of Darden. So if you're in Darden, you want to be in your safe place. Five Forks as well. Bible Hill, west of Darden. Watch out. That circulation starting to ramp up near the Chesterfield area. That's looks like it cycled, and a new circulation ramping up just to the west of Darden with this storm. It isn't a radar hole, but that doesn't mean that we can't use our meteorological skills and try to deduce exactly where that tornado is happening. Echo tops are increasing dramatically. Darden, you're probably getting some decent hail out of this storm as those echo tops continue to increase. That means the updraft is increasing. It means that this storm is definitely not done. Could even have a tornado on the ground right now, and it just happens to be in a radar hole, so we're not able to see it as clearly, but that tornado would be just to the west of Darden. Looks like a pretty well-defined signature. This is the old circulation just northeast of Rock Hill. And this is a new circulation that's ramping up. And you can see that big reservoir of big storm relative inflow feeding into that new circulation just northeast of Chesterfield. Waiting for a correlation drop there to the northwest of Darden. Looks like it is going to pass just to the north of Parsons near the Bible Hill area. So definitely watching this area to the west of Darden. Possible tornado. It is a little bit in a radar hole, so we're having trouble using some of the normal tools that we would normally use. Looks like the old circulation back here north of US Highway 412. New circulation also just north of 412, but starting to ramp up here northeast of Chesterfield, west of Darden. This would be an area that we're definitely watching for a ramp up in rotation as well. The only tornado warning in effect right now in the entire country is here in western Tennessee, just to the west of the Parsons area. The rotation suggests that the storm is cycling, and we have a new circulation now going up near Chesterfield, just to the north of Highway 412, west of Darden as well. Dangerous circulation there that we are watching west of Beacon Junction. That's where that circulation is located, just on the northeast side of Chesterfield now. Old circulation hanging back here, probably back in the rain. Still radar indicated. Not really any information in there that is interesting. Looks like you still have this large area of storm relative inflow, though, feeding into this relatively broad circulation north of Darden. But usually this area, a large reservoir of storm relative inflow like that, is a sign that the circulation is starting to ramp up once again. Ecotops are still very healthy on this storm. Look at that. If anything, they're increasing on approach to the Parsons area. Could easily be a new circulation that will ramp up on that. "40-mile-an-hour winds, pennies. Those storms in northeastern Arkansas. And I'm going to keep on watching this. See if there is a new tornado warning that is issued. And I will be right back. Stay tuned. to 30 seconds. I'm back, and we are still breaking this thing down. Circulation is going to pass to the north of Parsons. Not sure if they're going to extend the tornado warning or not. I don't think so. That circulation now just to the southwest of Bible Hill. Moving northeast. Let's shift on over to the Nashville Radar here. Looks like that circulation just to the west of Bible Hill, even though we're scanning kind of on the outer reaches of that radar. That's where that circulation is located. You can see the weak echo region here, north of Darden. That's where that circulation would be located, just to the west of Bible Hill. Well-defined supercell still, very healthy. Looking at the ecotops too. Ecotops are still extending high up into the troposphere as well. There you can even see a bit of an explosion in ecotops right over that mesocyclone. That's because the mesocyclone rotation increases the updraft inside the storm, causing it to penetrate further up into the troposphere. And that's why you can kind of use this to assess the health of the storm as well. So thank you everybody for joining me for this radar breakdown. Tornado potential happening north of Darden. That's where that circulation would be located, right in the core of those greater ecotops. That's where that mesocyclone is located as well, just to the west of Bible Hill, northwest of Parsons. We've been looking at the environment here across western Tennessee, and it is supportive of tornadoes, about 200 to 300 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity. The photographs also look quite favorable, with that southwesterly 1 kilometer wind of about 40 knots and increasing. Surface winds are pretty close to due southerly at about 7 to 8 knots, and that's creating a lot of wind shear available to these storms. Looks like a little bit of a hail spike there as well from this hail core. It's just to the north of Bible Hill. The big time hail core. You can see that hail spike happening there. Definitely some copious amounts of hail. Lots of 1-inch diameter hail here. East of New Stafford, northwest of Bible Hill. That's where that circulation would be located. Waiting for the new scan here. No confirmed tornadoes yet, officially. And I think that they're probably typing up the new tornado warning off to the northeast here. Maybe it'll be allowed to expire. But it could just be turning into a hailer as it's starting to outrun that axis of surface-based instability just a little bit. So I'm going to continue to update this live as we go through the evening. Stay tuned. And I think there's going to be more tornado warnings, possibly with that cluster of renegades there in northeastern Arkansas, moving off to the east. Maybe with this storm as it continues to track off to the east. I'm trying to see if that tornado warning is going to be continued here. Right now, it's in the circulation is in the northeastern portion. And it looks like that circulation is starting to weaken on approach to Bible Hill. And there it is. We just lost that tornado warning. So meatloaf is ready downstairs, everybody. I'm going to eat that meatloaf. And if there are more tornado warnings, we'll go live once again. But it does look like that tornado warning has been allowed to expire as that circulation is passing just to the north of Parsons, Tennessee. But that circulation is getting a lot more broad. Thank you, everybody. Never stop chasing.